West Bank, a decades-long conflict has escalated Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich has openly advocated for the annexation of the West Bank and the cancellation of the Oslo Accords, aiming to expand Israeli sovereignty and dismantle the Palestinian Authority's control over key areas. This policy shift has significant implications for the lives of millions of Palestinians, as military operations have caused widespread displacement and the destruction of critical infrastructure, drawing international concern and calls for restraint. Smotrich's plans reflect a broader shift in Israeli policy, with the potential to reshape the region and impact long-term stability. Whether these efforts will succeed in consolidating Israeli control over the West Bank remains uncertain, as they face both domestic and international opposition. Welcome to In Depth. Israel has escalated military operations in the West Bank, deploying tanks for the first time in over 20 years. The Iron Wall operation aims to combat resistant groups, but it has led to significant displacement, with over 40,000 Palestinians forced to flee. Defense Minister Israel Katz has stated that troops will remain in cleared refugee camps for at least a year to prevent residents' return. Palestinians fear that this marks a dangerous escalation, threatening widespread displacement and reassertion of Israeli control over areas managed by the Palestinian Authority.
Amid a fragile ceasefire in Gaza, Israel has reinvaded the West Bank with a clear political objective: asserting control and suppressing resistance. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, a key figure in Israel's far-right government, has vowed to escalate actions against Palestinians, warning of a fate similar to that of Gaza. Since January 21st, Israeli military operations in Jenin, Tulkarm and Tubas have resulted in over 30 Palestinian deaths and widespread displacement. Smotrich's threats are not mere rhetoric. They signal a strategic shift toward more aggressive policies aimed at expanding settlements and pushing forward de facto annexation. This operation is part of a broader Israeli strategy to entrench occupation and consolidate control over the West Bank. It aligns with the far-right coalition's push for increased settlement construction and territorial expansion. The Israeli government's actions have drawn international criticism, with many viewing them as an attempt to annex Palestinian land by force. Some analysts describe these military operations as a consolation prize offered by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to his far-right coalition partners led by Smotrich. As Israel's actions in the West Bank mirror the devastation in Gaza, the international community watches with growing concern. Smotrich's confidence in continued U.S. backing under the Trump administration further fuels his ambitions. As tensions escalate, the West Bank becomes not just a security flashpoint, but a battleground for Israel's political objectives. This conflict is not only about military control, but also about the future of Palestinian statehood and the region's identity. Smotrich's vision of a unified Israel looms over an already fragile peace, threatening to push the region deeper into turmoil.
A new chapter unfolds as Israel intensifies its military presence in the West Bank. The operation, called Iron Wall, marks a significant escalation, with tanks deployed for the very first time in decades. As Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich pushes for annexation, the region sways on the brink of chaos. Will Smotrich's vision of Israeli sovereignty prevail, or will international pressure alter the course of this crisis? For more analysis, we're joined by Dr. Abdel Nasser Mekki, political science professor from Ramallah, and we're also joined by Mr. Samir Abahra, political analyst from Jenin. Welcome to both of you. And I'll start with Professor Mekki. Sir, how should we understand the new Israeli war goals in the West Bank, considering the political motivations of figures like Smotrich and the broader context of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Yes, I think this is one thing that we could discuss about this matter. As you know, the last month, on 19th of the last month, the cabinet meeting in the Israeli government, as you know, when they decided for the first stage of agreement in Gaza, as the Smotrich was, hesitated, and he also was refused for this, the agreement. So Netanyahu told him that he could go ahead with what he is planning in the West Bank. And also after that, that he was encouraging by Netanyahu, and also at the same time he was encouraging by the statement from the Trump when he said about that for Gaza, for displacement of the people there, and also at the same time for West Bank when he said, yeah, if the annexation will be successful in West Bank, he said, okay, yeah, you could go ahead with this. So Smotrich has planned from the beginning, and also at the same time, he is one of the key person in the government, in the coalition government. And because of this, Netanyahu support him in this matter. And also at the same time, there is a Minister of Defense, new one, instead of Gallant, Israel Katz. Also, he was supporting the extreme in order to go ahead with the innovation of the West Bank, especially in the north part of West Bank, Jenin, Tulkarem, where there is resistance there. So because of this, I think the Israeli government go there in order that they want to displace the people from the refugee camp in order to, that's eliminate the concepts of the right of return to the Palestinians in the refugee camp, destroy them, especially in Jenin, Tulkarem, and Al-Farah refugee camps. And after that, they will go ahead with all the refugee camp in the West Bank in order to eliminate all these refugee camps. This will influence on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, especially, as you know, after the Oslo Accord 1993, there is agreement between the Palestinian Liberation Organization and between Israeli government, and after that, the establishment of the Palestinian National Authority, which had their authority under the Area A and some B, but for Area C, it was under the jurisdiction of the Israeli government. So after that, as you know, I will not go ahead with the history, but when we talk about today, what is happening in the north part of West Bank, we could say that the Israeli government is not interested with going with the peace process, and also at the same time they are not. They have their agenda, which is to eliminate the refugee camps and also displace the people there. And they have their agenda and the planning to annexation or combination of the West Bank. This is their plan, and this is what they are thinking. And
Yes.
according to Katz, he said that they will stay for a long time in the north part of that's West Bank, and the first time that they used the tank before 20 years. So it's something dangerous and seriously will affect on the region.
Okay. Mr. Abahra, how has the shift in Israeli war policy since the Gaza ceasefire dramatically shaken up the situation in the West Bank?
سؤالي
عفوا ايوه يا فندم
عفوا مساء الخير لكم
to you
للضيف الكريم
and your kind guest. In fact, what's happening in Gaza and the West Bank are intact and integrated as they are Palestinian territories under the Israeli occupation, and whoever is governing the Palestinian territories is Israel. That occupied Gaza and is trying to occupy the West Bank. the issue that's what's happening now is political than security. And also the shift of the stance that given the green light when Trump stated that he is going to respect the Israeli government in its decision whether they need peace or war. And that made Israel to continue its policy, what happening in Israel, that Netanyahu seemed that responded so much threatening of resigning from the government if he's not going to continue the war. And Netanyahu warned either to prolong the first phase or announce a war. So there are difficulties regarding the deal and the truce. And this in itself would require an intervention from the moderators. The West Bank, the Israeli incursion to go in line with what's happening in Gaza, under the pretext that the security and the resistance presence and the armed cells. Since the first day of the early incursion in the West Bank, there was no any clashes between the armed factions and Israel. But on all just the collective punishment and wanting to displace the civilians targeted in light of the silence of the international community, as Israel is doing whatever they like without any determinant. The matter is political. If Israel has failed the Saudi project by the condition the establishment of the Palestinian state that was failed by the attacks of the 7th of October and the Israeli incursion into Gaza. So the new Saudi project that wouldn't have any normalization with Israel without the establishment of the Palestinian state. So that's why they incurred the Palestinian West Bank. And this would require, and also I think it is also due to the Arabic movement sending a signal that the minimum limit is the establishment of the Palestinian state amid the silence of the stance of the international community, calling for the establishment of the Palestinian state. Israel has decided to do the incursion. I think during the Arab summit to come, so Israel would continue incursion in the West Bank to send a message to the Arab and world, to the Arab world, and the cause for the Palestinian due to Israel is a self-determination following the displacement and cannot be in the Palestine, and what is left from the Palestinian people in the West Bank, therefore that will be like a self-governance. This is the Palestinian feeling of for the Palestinian. This is what the Israelis say.
Professor Mekki, how does Smotrich's stated goal for 2025 to demolish more Palestinian structures than are built in the West Bank actually reflects a broader strategy of Israeli aggression and displacement?
The plan of Smotrich, as he now is going ahead with this, that plan, is that he wants to make the life of the Palestinian people in the refugee camps and also in the cities of the north part of West Bank miserable. And it will be difficult in order that the people will think they could go outside in order that they could improve their life. This is what he thinks. He thinks that maybe he could make the life of the people outside Palestine attractive to them to go ahead and to displace them and to migrate them from Palestine, which is one of his goals, that he said that he wants to minimize the number of the Palestinian people, which is a problem for the Israeli, that the demography, as you know, one of the problem against Israel is that the increasing number of the Palestinian, and also at the same time, he want to make the life of the Palestinian miserable, and also there is many difficulties, especially on the, that demolish, elimination, the refugee camp, and also destroy the houses, destroy the schools and all things, and also at the same time, he will try to, not to minimize or to make a problem for the people to get of the water and the food. He is thinking like this, and this will be the first stage in his plan that he will start with the north part of West Bank in order not to make any, things from the international government, international community to maybe to send a letter to him that, or the Israeli government, that to stop this, process. But after that, he will expand this to be for the middle of the West Bank, and after that to be expanded to the north, to the south, and also like Hebron and Bethlehem. So this is what he is thinking. He want West Bank to be empty of the people, and also at the same time he want to increase the number of the settlements, number of the settlers in West Bank, and also he want to improve the life of the settlers there, and to make the Palestinian people life miserable. This is what he is thinking.
Yes. Mr. Abahra, what role does the Israeli finance minister play in shaping military policies?
عفوا السؤال ما سمعته منيح.
I was asking you, Mr. Abahra, what role does the Israeli finance minister play in shaping the military policies?
Smitrich, it seems like it's the one that's governing the Israeli policy, and to provide a safe network for Netanyahu without the fall of the government. If he withdraws from the government will fall. So that's why Netanyahu is very strict with them to provide a safety network. Smotrich is the mastermind of the displacement process of the West Bank and push forward to occupy the West Bank. Therefore, Netanyahu has to respond, otherwise will go out of the government. In a way, there is a pressure internally, and practically Netanyahu wishes to continue the war and refused the agreement through the Israeli pressure of the necessity of releasing the Israeli captives in Hamas. So Netanyahu wants to circumvent and evade his position as the Israel is having a threat by the armed factions, and that led to the bombs and of the buses, and it is some sort of a pretext to extract it to the Israeli street to support him for the Israeli government. If the elections took place, the government, Netanyahu will fall and will have problems in forming the government.
Professor Mekki, what are the potential implications of the changing U.S. policy parameters towards the West Bank?
I think this is important issues that the United States of America in the Biden, that administration was not like this. It was like working as between the Palestinian and the Israeli, and they are believing with maybe those two-state solution, but after a while the Trump administration is not like this. The Trump administration, as you know, in his first, that election in 2016, he was one of the supporters of Israeli to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and also at the same time, he was supporting Israel. So I think now, according to his statements, that he want to, which he sent it to the Israeli government, that he hope that Israeli will expand, it's small, and also at the same time that the annexation will successful in Israeli. So I think yes, it's this policy have been changed and supporting Israeli absolutely 100% without any pressure from the Trump administration to Israel in order to stop all these that aggression against the West Bank and against even the Palestinian National Authority. And he is not believing with even with the peace process, which also occurred. He just want to support Israel and also support the extreme government in order to go ahead with this, that's plan, the plan of the annexation, which he is one of the founder of this and the deal of the century. So I think, yes, the United States policy have been changed 100% supporting Israel and without to be as a mediator, mediator between the Palestinian and between the Israeli, like before in the Biden and also in the previous, that presidents before. So this is the case today, is that the American is not like the administration which was before to support the peace process, but just it's supporting, encouraging Israel to do what they want to do, especially for the annexation.
Yes. Mr. Abara, what specific actions will the EU take to address its concerns over Israel's operations in the West Bank?
I think the United States wouldn't give a clear stance up till now not to condemn the Israeli operations and requested for self-discipline. I think that there are some shifts in the American stances by the announcement of Trump that he would commit to the decision of the Israeli government taken by some of the extremists in the government. Practically, the United States never pressured Israel by the recognition of the international legitimacy along with the Oslo Accord that signed by America along with Israel as well as the EU and the United Nations as well as Russia. So why they do not comply with your signature? And Israel has a commitment of that matter, but the Israeli right should be gained by the Palestinian people. The other issue that Katz regarding the displacement process said that the Israeli army will stay for 1 year within the refugees camps. 40,000 of the people were displaced, and this is the second displacement in the history of the Palestinian people. The international community only the mean that deter the extremist decisions by Israel and along with the American green light to continue the public or the collective punishment, weakening the Palestinian Authority financially and militarily. These are indicators that Israel is moving forward to undermine the Palestinian cause along with the Palestinian project and the Palestinian establishment.
Professor Makki, given that Israel seems intent on ethnic cleansing, what strategies can the Palestinians develop to undermine the legitimacy and feasibility of Israeli actions?
I think this is an important question, especially what is the tools that maybe the Palestinian could use it in order to stop the Israeli plan on the West Bank. So I think, first of all, we should make a unity and, that's to eliminate the division between the Palestinians themselves. We should talk by one voice in order to be as unit and talking to the for the Arab countries, to talking to the international community, to the United Nations, and also try to use the international community tools, especially for the United Nations resolution 242, 338, and also for Oslo Accord. This is all the tools, or maybe the initiative of the Prince Abdullah 2002 for the peace process. And also we could, first of all, we should speak with one voice, talk with one voice, Palestinian. There is no any division. This is one important, that step. The other step is that we should also talk to the Arab countries to be as responsible about what is happening in the West Bank and the Arab Summit and the 4th of next month. Also, the Palestinians should send a good, should be there and send a strong message with one voice that they against what is happening in the West Bank and in Gaza.
I get
This
your
is
point.
the
I get your point. Thank you very much. That was Dr. Abdel Nasser Makki, political science professor, and Mr. Samir Abara, political analyst. Thank you very much, both of you, for your valuable insights. And so we conclude with Smotrich's ambitions casting a shadow over the West Bank, leaving its future precautiously balanced between hope and despair. This brings us to the end of today's episode of In Depth. I'm Hala Al-Hamalawi. Thank you very much for joining us. Join us next time as we explore more on the Middle East's evolving landscape.